Hello everyone, I am Chair Grace Flores and I am going to discuss the primary activities, the agriculture. We have this what we call the subsistence agriculture, extensive subsistence agriculture, intensive subsistence agriculture, urban subsistence agriculture, expanding crop production, and the intensification of the green revolution. So lahat po ng iyan ay atin pong tatalakayin later on. So agriculture is defined as the growing of crops and the tending of livestock. So agriculture is a science or a practice of farming, including the cultivation of soil for growing crops and rearing animals to provide food, wool, and other products. But before agriculture became widespread, people spent most of their lives searching for food through hunting wild animals and gathering plants. At paglipas ng maraming taon, natutunan din po ng mga tao on how to grow cereals and root crops and settled down to a life based on farming. So, hunting and gathering were practiced by at most a few thousand people worldwide, especially in the interior of New Guinea, interior of Southeast Asia, diminishing segments of the Amazon rainforest, and a few districts of tropical Africa and northern Australia. So, for example, the Andamanese people of Andaman Island and the Aita of the Philippines. And also, according to the National Geographic Society, meron pa rin po mga countries na naghahunt at nag-gather ng food until now. At isa na doon ang Hadza people of Tanzania na kung saan ay matatagpuan sa Africa. So, sila yung mga tao na nananatili pa rin po sa ganoong uri ng pamumuhay. So, let's proceed to the subsistence agriculture. In subsistence agriculture, the production of exchange is minimal and any exchange is non-commercial. So, farmers cultivate crops only for self-consumption and not to sell in the market. So, a simple example of subsistence agriculture is a family growing grain and using that grain to make enough of bread for themselves and not to sell in the market. So, para sa mga taong naninirahan sa wealthy countries, this is a romantic idea because just imagine having land and using it to sustain you and your family. So, medyo pabor-pabor siya. So, this way of life is common in parts of Africa, South and East Asia, and much of Latin America. So now, subsistence agriculture can be classified into two types, which is the extensive and intensive subsistence agriculture. Now, see extensive, it involves large areas of land and minimal labor per hectare. So, extensive farming or extensive agriculture, ito yung agricultural production na gumagamit lamang po ng small amounts of labor, fertilizers, and capital. So dahil mababa lang po yung kapital at di gaano marami ang mga manggagawa, konti lang din po yung napuproduce na products or crops. So sa extensive subsistence agriculture ay mayroong two particular interests at ito ay ang nomadic herding at shifting cultivation. So nomadic herding, it is the wandering yet controlled movement of livestock. So from the word itself, wandering, it means that the nomadic herders have no home base. Palipat-lipat po sila from one place to another. At bakit pa controlled sila ng mga tao? It is because if hindi sila kinokontrol, walang makukuhang benefit yung mga nomadic herders, kagaya na lamang ng mga pagkain. Because the main purpose of nomadic herding is to provide food for the family to fulfill needs of clothing, shelter, and recreation. So the nomadic herders were actually dependent sa mga animals like sheep, horses, cattle, goats, and even sa mga reindeers for their livelihood. It is because animals can provide variety of products such as like, for example, milk, cheese, meat for food, and hair and wool for clothing. Nomadic herding were practiced in Asia. Example is sa India, specifically in Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. So kaya sila tinatawag doon ng may nomadic herding, it is because their geographical area is more on land and mountains na kung saan is maraming makukonsume ang mga animals. Next is, we have the shifting cultivation. Shifting is a farming system na kung saan yung farmers move from one area to another when the land is exhausted. So the most common form of shifting cultivation is the slash and burn na kung saan dito sa Philippines ay tinatawag natin siya na kaingin, na kung saan pinuputol at sinusunog yung mga puno to clear the area bago taniman. So let's say for example, a land being farmed for 2 to 3 years, so mahaba-habang panahon din before moving on to other areas. So this allows the farmed area to recover para maibalik ang nutrients ng lupa. So, shifting cultivation, it is a mode of farming long followed in the humid tropics of Sub-Saharan Africa, Southeast Asia, and South Africa. Next, we have the intensive agriculture. It involves the cultivation of small landholding through the expenditure of great amounts of labor per acre. So sa kasalukuyang panahon, may mga companies na sila yung may hawak ng malalawak na lupang sakahan. And then, yung land ng farmers is nagiging limited at hindi naging sapat para matugunan ang kanilang pangunahing pangangailangan, and because of that, gumagawa ng paraan ang mga farmers na paigtingin pa ang kanilang mga gawi para mapataas ang produksyon. Kaya ang ginagawa nila is kapag may natitira pang products or crops galing sa kanilang na-harvest, is kinakalakal nila sa iba pang products. Just like for example, wheat, soybeans, and barley, which are majorly grown intensively in subsistence farms or northern parts of China, Japan, and Korea, and also parts of India like Punjab. In addition, these two, the extensive and intensive subsistence agriculture is all about how we use the land. So sa extensive agriculture, hindi masyadong naaabuso. It is because extensive subsistence agriculture, ito yung agricultural production that uses small amounts of labor, fertilizers, and capital. So kahit gaano kalawak ang land na sinasaka, konti lang ang mapuproduce na products kasi nga mababa lang din po ang ginagamit na kapital at konti lang din ang mga taong nagtatrabaho. At si intensives naman po, yung land is na-abuse at napag-cause siya ng soil degradation, leads to the expansion of new lands. In intensive agriculture, kaya na-abuse yung land, it is because konti lang po yung land na sinasaka, but they end up requiring large amounts of labor and capital. So there's a possibility, Jude, that after harvest is ginagabtamnan siya og balik to produce another set of products or crops. Next is we have the urban subsistence agriculture. It defined as small areas within the city for growing crops and raising small livestock for own consumption or sale in neighborhood markets. So let's say for example, nakatira ka sa isang city and then nagba-backyard gardening ka. So sa iyong garden, sa garden mo is tinamnan mo ng talong. Dahil sa ginawa mo, you were able to feed your own family. But you also have a choice if gusto mo ba na only for self-consumption lang siya, yung mga na-harvest mo, or kung gusto mo rin bang ibenta sa kalapit ng mga market yung products mo. And as a result, hindi lang ang pamilya mo ang nakako-consume, but also you can supply local markets with vegetables or fruit, fish, and even meat, all without the expense and spoilage of stretch of long or a long distance transportation. Next, the expanding crop production, it is the conversion of non-agricultural lands to agricultural lands. Example, may isang hektarya kang lupa na hindi mo ginagamit like forested land. To expand the crop production, you use the land for agricultural purposes. So, pinaklear mo yung lupa, you use large amount of capital and hire people to plant. So, napalawak ang crop production because kinonvert mo yung lupa from non-agricultural to agricultural land. At maaari ka na makapagbenta once na ma-harvest mo na yung mga crops na naitanim. And the last one is the intensification of the Green Revolution, aimed at increasing yields by using new crop cultivars, irrigation, fertilizers, pesticides, and mechanization. So the main concept of the intensification and the Green Revolution is mapataas ang production. At para mangyari yun, gumagamit na po ng new crop cultivars. An example of crop cultivars is tomato plant, na ay big boy tomatoes and heirloom tomatoes are different cultivars of tomato species. At dahil malaki or malawak na ang lupa na sinasaka, Farmers uses machineries kagaya ng mga traktor para mas madako o para mas mapadali pod ang mga trabahoon. To end this, let us all remember that agriculture is a divine gift, and let us all be thankful to our farmers because without them we are surely nothing. Again, this is Joy Grace Flores, hoping that you learned something. That would be all. Thank you and God bless.